Good afternoon, everyone. This is my final video on We Wanted a King Over Us. And in this video, I want to discuss basically just getting more clarification on identifying who is Esau Edom, who are the Edomites today, and trying to go into a little more details from the Bible as to why the Most High himself said, Esau have I hated. I Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. Why did he hate Esau so much? And I believe he hated Esau because of Esau was a man of war. Esau was not obedient. We definitely know, he was raised as a son of Abraham in the household with his parents, and yet he still married outside of his people. And then I think the hatred or the loathe for Esau started also when he sold his birthright for a meal. Because and let's talk a little bit about the birthright. The birthright was a special, it was given to the firstborn son, which gave him a double portion, but then also it made him the next patriarch of the family. And there were certain patriarchal rights that he would have to fulfill, such as taking care of, he would be the next in line to just make sure everyone in the household or his family is good, is taken care of. If his brother was to pass away, he was to marry his brother's wife, and make sure that his brother's family line kept going, as well as you know he would be the one taking care of the widows, the orphans. There was a lot of responsibility that came with, because the patriarchal person would have the family's signet ring as well as the staff, that they were in charge, in command, or running the show. And so there was responsibility. But I find it strange, or I find it coincidental, that he sold his birthright for a mere bowl of red pottage. But then the very next verse says he despised his birthright. So he didn't want those responsibilities, and he didn't want what came with the what came with it. He didn't even look at the privilege of him receiving the birthright. When his brother told him, sell me your birthright and I will give you the stew, he actually told his brother, what good is a birthright to me? Like, I don't care. Okay, you can have it. So it was nothing to him. And so that, I think that may have been the, something that the Most High foreknew he would do. And so that definitely played a part in him selling the birthright. But then he cried for the blessing. He wanted the blessing, the prosperity, and everything that came with the birthright, but he despised the birthright. And I think that's parallel today. We can look at that with a lot of people, that's walking the way. A lot of people that claim to follow, Christ, we look for any reason or any out in order to sin or in order to justify it. And especially in the Christian church, we just say, oh, no one's perfect, or this is done away with, or we point to scriptures and see how we can get out of obeying that scripture. And anyway, before I get off track, let me go back to I feel like Esau, we can go back to Genesis 3. In Genesis 3, when Adam and Eve, Eve was deceived by the serpent, and Adam listened or hearkened to the voice of his wife. mankind, that's when we fell, but then that's when a proclamation was given to all the parties involved, and a prophecy. A prophecy was given to the serpent, but the prophecy was that the seed of the woman, someone would come from the seed of the woman that would crush his head, would crush the serpent's head, that he would bruise his heel, but that seed will crush his head. So that started in Genesis 3. And then directly after that, we had the birth of Cain and Abel. And so you had the description of both. You can really see that Abel was more so in line with Jacob. Esau was more so in line with Cain. And when Cain was expelled out of after killing his brother, when he was expelled, he left and built a city. And then that's in Genesis 4:17. Cain built the city. Then we go to the next person that was known to be a mighty hunter and a mighty warrior and wanted to be worshipped as God in the earth was King Nimrod. So King Nimrod in Genesis 10, he turns around and builds a city in Genesis 10:8-10. And then everyone started worshiping him as God in the earth. So then Esau, he builds a city. So there's a parallel with people trying to colonize. The Most High's people dwelled in tents from the beginning of time until colonization of the world. His people were still pitching their tents. You will see when Abraham traveled, he pitched his tent. Most times when Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob traveled, they pitched a tent, and then they would dig a well, possibly depending on how long they would be there. They would dig a well and they would build an altar to the Most High. They never went out trying to colonize anything. They never went and built cities and start trying to be kings and rule as God in the earth. So there's definitely an antichrist spirit of rebellion that started with Cain. And once again, Cain was jealous of his twin Abel and slew him. And then this has led down the line to Esau, and Esau attempting to slay his brother Jacob, and actually has been slaying his brother Jacob still until today. And in the same way that Cain was jealous of Abel, Esau was jealous of Jacob because he was angry that the Most High, he felt rejected, and he felt like the Most High had given Jacob the birthright and the blessing. So that's when Esau left and went to Mount Seir and started ruling, or his family became kings and dukes in Mount Seir. That's when Esau began to serve, Satan. So, and once again, you can get a lot of this information from, Jasher, Maccabees, Jubilees, the books that have been removed. Also, one thing that I want to say as well is that I believe it's in the book of Jasher, Esau, he's the one that beheaded Nimrod. He killed Nimrod the very same day that he was out, that he sold his birthright for the porridge. He had really just returned home from slaughtering Nimrod. Nimrod was out hunting. He caught Nimrod alone. He beheaded him, and he took a special garment that the rulers wore. I think it had been passed down ever since Adam. Adam passed it to Shem, and it had gotten passed down, and Nimrod had it, and Esau took it when he slaughtered, the day he slaughtered Nimrod. So anyway, I'm going to quickly go to Daniel 2. We're going to discuss Daniel 2. Let me share my screen here. So in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. Just to summarize it, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and he asks all the wise men to give him the interpretation of the dream. No wise men, no magician, no astrologer, no one could interpret the dream. So Nebuchadnezzar was very upset. Not only did he want them to interpret the dream, he told them, I'm not going to even tell you the dream for your interpretation. I want you to tell me what I dreamed and then give me the interpretation. And because no one could do that, he actually ordered for all the wise men, all the prophets, magicians, and astrologers to be slaughtered. So Daniel asked the captain of the army, what's the haste? Like, why is this decree so hasty from the king? And then when he found out what was going on, he told the captain of the army, just give me a few days while I pray to my God for the interpretation. And he did. He fasted and prayed, and he was given the dream and the dream's interpretation. So I'm going to find the scripture where he interprets the dream. So here, he tells King Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 2:31, you, O king, saw and beheld a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of brass, its legs were of iron, his feet were iron and part of clay. You saw till a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broke into pieces and became like chaff in the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. Now we will tell you the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are the King of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. So you are this head of gold. And after these shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and a third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. For as so much as iron breaks into pieces and subdues all things, and as iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for so much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break into pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as so much you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, and the great God which has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. The dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is sure. So after this, King Nebuchadnezzar fell down on his face, made Daniel second ruler or third in command to rule the kingdom, and gave him, special privileges for being able to interpret the dream. But I wanted to show you all, hold on, let me share my screen to show you. Okay, this. So basically, this is the statue. This is, kind of like an interpretation of what he saw. So that Daniel told him, this golden head you see, that is the kingdom of Babylon. That's the kingdom that you are on. You are that strong golden head that has power over all the world. The next kingdom after yours, the silver arms and torso, is the Medes and the Persians. That's the kingdom that will rule after yours. Then you have a third kingdom of brass. This was Greece. This was the kingdom that Alexander, the time period that Alexander the Great ran the world. So then the legs of iron represents the Iron Age, the Roman Empire. This is the time that Rome is ruling the world. Rome has colonized quite a bit of the world, almost the entire world. And Great Britain and the Vatican basically run everything. And so and then the iron mixed with miry clay, the feet that were iron and clay mixed, and it said that they were partly strong and partly fragile. Now, see, during this Iron Age, this is called the Iron Age because not only did Rome use iron or the sword to conquer and battle and come against all their enemies and subdue them, but also this is a time of technology. Technology represents the iron as well. So this is, industry, iron. Matter of fact, they're calling this the fourth industrial revolution. This is the fourth revolution, which is called the fourth industrial revolution, because it's a year of industry. And then they're trying to move to that fifth revolution. So, but right here, when he said that the kingdom would be partly strong. This represents America. The feet, the 10 toes, it represents the 10 horns. I mean, the 10 horns that will be given to the beast, to rule for a time. America, we became, a great or mighty nation after the fall of Germany. America rose up. So America is that final kingdom that will be in power before the rock, which was Christ, strikes this statue at the feet, and it's going to crumble. And then the whole statue is going, every kingdom in the world is going to come crumbling down, and he will build his own kingdom. And that's going to be the 1,000-year reign. So that's another thing. There's no rapture going on right now. Even when America is destroyed, there will be no rapture. When Christ comes back, he is going to establish his kingdom in the earth for 1,000 years. And after that, after he reigns as king for 1,000 years, then this earth will be destroyed and there will be a new heaven and a new earth. So, but this statue is exactly where we are now. And the Most High was telling us who would be ruling at the end of the world. And also, well, at the end of the kingdoms, because they were given 120 jubilees. So back, that was in Genesis 10, when, I'm sorry, Genesis 6, when the Most High decided to destroy this earth. But you know, we know that he created it in 6 days, he rested on the seventh. So he gave them 6 days, which he gave them 6 days. He said 100, it says 120 years, which meant 120 jubilees. And then they're going to have 1,000 years of rest in which he'll be king on earth. So we know that before Babylon, there was the Assyrian kingdom and the Egyptian kingdom that were the two, you know, next greatest kingdoms prior to. So this represents the 7 heads that's also in Revelation 12. So anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap up this video. And once again, you all have a blessed Sabbath. And until the next video, shalom.